same king, he was up on the king's house, looking on the roof, looking down one day, and saw a pretty woman down there bathing herself. Oh, look out, Lust Demon. Look out, baby. He saw a pretty woman down there bathing herself. But you know what? The woman was married. Her name was Bathsheba. She was the wife of Uriah the Hittite. When David saw that woman, he sent for that woman. And when that woman came to David's house, he took that man's wife and he laid with that man's wife. A short time later, that woman came back to David and said, I am with child. I am pregnant now. David said, that's all right. I'll work this thing out. I'll send for your husband and bring him out of the battlefield and let him lay with you. And you can tell that's a scheming rascal, wasn't he? He can lay with him and you can tell him it's his child. But let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. You can't mess up God's plan. When Uriah came into the place, David told him, go down to your house and wash your feet and go to lay with your wife. But Uriah was such a dedicated soldier. He was such a dedicated man. He wouldn't even go down to his house. He told King David, he said, as the Lord liveth, as my fellow soldiers are out in the battlefield, I will not go and lie with my wife. And you know what? He stepped at the king's place there, stepped at his door, wouldn't even go down and tell, oh, David said, I'll get him this time. He tried to get him drunk and send him down there, but he still wouldn't go. But you know what David did? He wrote out his own death note. He told him, take this to Joab. And what he had told Joab to do was to take Uriah the Hittite and put him in the forefront of the battle that he might be smitten and die. And you know what happened? They put Uriah up there where the battling men were. And Uriah was killed. He was put to death. And after that, then David took his wife and brought her into his house. And then God had another man, a man by the name of Nathan, a prophet by the name of Nathan. Nathan came down to David and began to, he said, listen, I got a parable I want to talk to you. Y'all with me? Some of y'all know the story, some of you don't. He said, I want to tell you about a parable. He said, there were two men in a city. One was rich and one was poor. He said, that rich man, he said, that man had many flocks and herds. He said, but that poor man, he said, all that poor man had was one little female lamb. And he said, he loved that lamb. He said, it eat his meat, it drank from his cup. He said, he held it in his bosom. He loved that man. He said, but a wayfaring, a traveling man came. He said, that rich man, he spared not to take from his own flock, but he took that one little female lamb and went and dressed it out for that traveling man. He wouldn't even take of his own flock. He took that one little lamb that poor man had. And when he said that, boy, David's anger was killed. He said, that man ought to be put to death. That man doesn't deserve to live. Anybody that would do something like that, they ought to kill him. And they ought to restore the lamb fourfold. And as his anger was kindled against the man, the prophet of God turned to him and said, thou art the man. And when he spoke that to David, you know what David didn't jump up and get huffy with him. You know what David said? David said, I have sinned against God. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. I don't care what's going on in your life. You better be honest enough with God to come before him, to repent of your sin, to ask God to help you in every fault, every area, every shortcoming that's in your life.